Today, we are going to start lying down. I'm going to focus a little bit more today on kind of waking up our core, some core stability stuff. Also working on our relationship with our ribs and our pelvis, so kind of making sure that we're not always like this in kind of this, it's called open scissors position. So the more we strengthen the core, the more we're able to understand where our ribs and our pelvis are in space as well. So we're going to start lying on our backs. You can just lie in your Shavasana, have your arms and your legs straight out. Just start taking deep breaths into the belly. Try to make your exhales just a little bit longer than your inhales. And on your next breath, we're just going to walk the feet in a little bit closer to your bum. And then we're just going to rock the pelvis back and forth. So just understanding the relationship of where our pelvis is in space. So you're flattening the sacrum out on the mat and then pulling it up off the mat. Just do this a few more times. You can have your hands on your belly if you want to feel that movement and understand what's happening. And then on your next breath, just start to bring your knees up and your arms. So we're kind of in this upside down tabletop position. We're going to go through a few, they're called dead bugs, but essentially you're pressing your sacrum, so the space where your waistband would be on your pants, into the mat. You want your pelvis to be pressing down into the mat. And we're going to go all the way out with our right foot and our left arm. So those are extending and heading towards the ground, and then we pull them back up. And we do the opposite side. Left foot, right hand, and back up. Let's do this on each side 2 more times. You'll feel right away, even after just one time on each side, that your core is really starting to wake up. 1 more here. And then come back into this reverse tabletop position. From here, we're going to interlace the fingers, bring them around the left shin, extend the right leg. Pull that left shin in towards you. And then switch. Take the left leg out long, bring the right shin in towards you, pull it in. Switch again. Left leg's coming in, right heel is heading out. And switch again. So when the foot's out and extended, it's not coming all the way to the ground, it's hovering off the ground. From here, just start to lift the shoulders up, tuck the chin towards the knee, and we're going to continue with this alternating motion. So pull the left leg in, extend the right, and you can keep switching, following your own breath, your own speed, whatever feels good. But you'll start to feel this a little bit more in your lower abdomen as you alternate back and forth with the legs. So if the left leg is extending, it's hovering off the ground, you're pulling the right shin in. Just keep switching back and forth. We'll do this 2 more times each side. Chin is tucked. Last one. And then you can take both legs out long, come all the way down into your Shavasana, take a big deep breath. From here, we're going to bring the arms up overhead, so they can be up in front of you or all the way, like stretching from toes to fingers, making your body really long, whatever feels more comfortable for you. We're going to do, they're called slow roll-ups. So your legs are straight. It's kind of like doing a sit-up, but you're going as slow as you possibly can, rolling all the way up, touching your toes or your shins or whatever's available to you today, and then rolling all the way back down. Try to let your arms go slowly as well, instead of using them to kind of whip yourself up and down. You want to try and keep the chin tucked here for most of this movement as well. Let's do 2 more like this. This is also kind of waking up the hamstrings as we fold forward. Last one, and roll all the way back down. Bring the knees up into the chest, give yourself a squeeze, and rock a little bit from side to side on the spine. From here, you're going to place your feet back on the mat and bring your heels close in towards you until you can touch your heels with your fingertips. On your next breath in, we're going to lift the hips up slowly, come into a bridge. You can roll your shoulders underneath you, clasp your fingers if that feels good. And hold here in this bridge, feel the glutes. You can always add a prop between the knees if you want to just focus on that inward stability motion. That'll help the core a little bit more as well. We tend to, in this position, to let the knees kind of go out wide, but we want the knees to be in line with the feet the entire time. Take 1 more breath, and then start to roll all the way back down. Bring the feet to the outer edges of your mat and let the knees just come in to touch. And breathe here. Bring the knees back up into center and just start windshield wipering the legs a few times side to side. So bringing both knees over to the right and then both knees over to the left, but your feet are still wide on the mat. And then we'll come back into center, heel toe the feet back into your setup for bridge. And on your next inhale, we're going to lift back up, roll the shoulders under, get a nice big back bend. And we're going to do some marching here. So we want to understand if there's maybe imbalances from side to side. Maybe we have one side that's way stronger than the other. That'll start to become clear as we march here. So hips are up high. Just start to bring the right foot up, back into that reverse tabletop, and then back down. And bring the left foot up. Same thing here as always. You can follow your breath. You can go at your own speed. You can go faster or slower than I'm going. And just alternate side to side. See if you notice the weight shift or your pelvic area tilting from one side to the other, maybe more so when you lift the left foot than the right. That's what's currently happening with me. Let's do 2 more here. Last one. And then roll the spine all the way back down. Bring the knees into the chest, rock from side to side. From here, you can come back into neutral. The knees are still in the chest, but now we're going to bring the heels together and the toes can be a little bit separated. So make it look like a pizza slice or a V with your feet. From here, you can have your hands on your shins or underneath your knees, and we're just going to rock up and down on the spine, keeping your heels together, and try to balance at the top. That will be where the core work is in this exercise. So hold for an extra second or 2 at the top of your rocking. Trying to keep the heels together the whole time. 2 more. And the next time you come up, let's try to hold for just a little bit longer. Maybe remove your hands if you want a little bit more of a challenge. Or you can extend your legs out if you want more of a challenge into like a full V sit. 1 more breath. And then release, bring the feet down, you can cross the ankles. We're going to roll up into our tabletop position. Our regular tabletop, not our reverse tabletop this time. So in your tabletop, your hands are under your shoulders, knees are under your hips. We're just gonna rock back and forth a few times over the wrists, just start to wake them up. You can tuck the toes as well if you want to do the same thing with the feet. So pushing back into the hands, stretching out through the feet, and then rocking forward, getting into the wrists. Last time, come back up into neutral, untuck the toes. Sit all the way back onto the heels, and then come up into tall kneeling. We're gonna do a bit of a rotation exercise, which is still working on our core and all of our surrounding stabilizers. So from here, we're gonna just cross the arms over the chest. Your knees are hip width apart. And we're just gonna start to rotate as much as you can towards the left. Hold, take a breath here. And then come back into neutral. Do the same thing, twist over to the right. Trying to keep equal weight in the feet and the knees. And come back to center. This time, you can leave the toes untucked. You can tuck them if you feel like you have more balance with that. We're just gonna lean back a little bit. So we're starting to activate the quads. And from here, arms are still crossed on the chest, twist towards the left. Back into neutral, twist towards the right. And release, come back up. Take a breath. From here, we're gonna go in a big circle. So still gonna feel very similar in the core, but you're gonna tuck the chin. You're gonna tilt the body over to the right. So it's kind of like the oblique is bringing us in this way. So the right elbow is coming down towards the hip. And then we're going to lean all the way back, go in a big circle until we reach the other side and the left elbow is coming down towards the left hip, and then rotate through center until we get back into neutral. Let's do one more time on that side. Right elbow comes down, go all the way back, and back into center. Try to keep your chin tucked the whole time you're doing that. Let's go the other way. So the left elbow's coming down, coming back with the left shoulder, go all the way across, and back into center. It's a lot more work for the core than it looks. One more time here. Back into center. Release the arms, just give them a shake at your sides. Bring the hands back down into your tabletop. If your toes weren't tucked before, we're going to tuck them under now. And from here, just lift the knees up about an inch. A little bit more core. Take another breath. And release, come back down into your tabletop. We're gonna work a little bit on some shoulder stabilization. So you can untuck the toes in our comfortable tabletop here. We're just gonna do our straight armed push-ups. So you're essentially just pushing up and out of the shoulder blades, the shoulder girdle. It can be a really subtle movement because nothing's happening in your elbows, but it's really great for shoulder stability. One more time. And then you can start to move that a little bit deeper, puff up the spine all the way to the ceiling. We'll move into our cat-cow. You can do reverse breath or regular breath. And reverse breath just means that you're inhaling while you're coming into cat instead of into cow. Because most of the time when we do this, we're inhaling up into our cow pose. Let's go one more time, whichever breath you choose. And then back into neutral. Take the knees a little bit farther back behind you. Tuck the toes under again. Pick up the knees, and we're just going to alternate tapping which knee goes down. So I'm going to tap my left knee, bring it back up, tap the right, bring it back up. Your own speed, your own breath. 3 more times per side. One more each side. Good, and then bring the knees down. Untuck the toes, reach the fingertips all the way forward and sit the hips back. Come into your child's pose. You bring the forehead down. You can bring your arms down by your sides if you want a little bit more of a release in the neck. I know sometimes when I do a lot of core work, it's harder to keep focus on the breath. And so some of that tension heads up into the neck and the shoulders. So bring your arms down by your sides, just let your forehead come all the way down and rock your head a few times from side to side. Take a breath here. And then bring your hands back out in front on your next inhale. Come back up into your tabletop. We're going to tuck the toes under and lift the hips all the way up into a downward facing dog. Pedal out the feet. We're going to be here for 5 breaths. So as long as you want to be wiggling around, stretching out the calves, stretching out the feet, maybe rolling around the ankles. As much movement as you need in this pose. Take one more breath. And this time, what we usually do is rock all the way forward into plank. But this time, I want to try coming into bending the knees, just rocking forward a bit and keeping the spine kind of puffed up. So it's almost like we're moving from the pose we were just doing, which is called beast, back into our downward dog. So not rocking all the way forward into plank, just rolling forward enough so that your knees are hovering and then sending the hips back up. Rock forward, hover the knees, back up. 2 more times here. And back into your downward dog. Start to tiptoe the feet right away to the top of the mat. Fold all the way forward when you get to the top. Take one more breath. And then you can start to roll the spine all the way up to stand on your next inhale. Take a big exhale when you get to the top. Inhale, reach the arms up overhead, look up. And exhale, dive forward, fold over your knees again. Come up halfway on the inhale. And bring the hands down on the next exhale. Just walk the feet all the way back behind you until you're in your downward dog. We're going to rock forward until the knees come down and then just lower all the way to the front of the body. Bring the hands just slightly out in front. Pull through the finger pads, loop the shoulders up and back, come into cobra. And release. This time we'll tent the fingertips and loop the shoulders up and back. Come up a little bit higher if you can, and if it feels good on your back. And release. Choose either one of those. Come up one more time on the inhale. And release all the way back down. From here, you can bring your hands into center, so you can bring your forehead down onto your hands, and just bend the knees, flex the feet, so your heels are facing up towards the ceiling. And we're just going to alternate picking up one foot and then the other. So bring your forehead down, try to relax your neck, pick up the right leg, take that heel towards the ceiling, and then bring it back down. And now the left. and back down. Pick up the right, place it back, and the left. One more time each way. Really subtle movement that's firing your glutes. And once you're back into your neutral position, try to pick up both. Hold here for a breath, and then bring it back down. You can bring your heels together if that makes it feel a little easier to press into each other. Let's do that one more time. Pick up the heels. Feel the glutes, take a breath, and come back down. Okay, I lied. I said one more time, but we'll do one more time now. Pick up the heels. Take 2 breaths this time. And release. Bring them back down. We're going to combine the 2 poses that we just did now. So that means we're heading into bow pose. So if either one of those, like coming up into your cobra or lifting up the heels, if you want to stay isolated in either one of those spaces, that's totally fine. Sometimes bow pose can be a little bit too much for people's lower backs. So you can try bow. If it's heading into your lower back, come right out of it. Either relax, head into your child's pose, or come up into cobra for just the upper back, or lift the heels off the ground for more glute activation. If you're ready to start heading into bow, reach your hands back behind you. Your feet are still really flexed. Grab onto your ankles. So this time, you're still going to focus on kicking the feet up into the air. And when you do, it's going to pull the hands back and the chest up. So this can be your bow pose. Or if you want a little bit more out of it, you can rock back and forth on the front of the body. This is called rocking horse. So either way, we're here for one more breath. And then release, start to bring it all back down. Push yourself up and sit the hips all the way back, come into your child's pose. Lift back up into tabletop. And we'll tuck the toes under, take the hips up into your downward dog. Take 2 breaths in your down dog. And then we'll start to bring the feet a little closer together. We want to make sure we get a little bit of hip stretching in before our time is up. So on your next inhale, take the right foot up into the sky behind you. You can bend that knee, open up the hip to the side wall, and just start making a few big circles with the knee. Go a couple times in each direction. And then step that right foot to the top of the mat between your hands. Lift up all the way, come into your high lunge. Get a big stretch in that left hip. You can pivot on the back foot, come into your warrior 2. And you can rock back and forth a little bit if you want to try and get some cracks under the hips. Or if you feel like holding in your warrior 2, if you just want to work on some strength, that's also great. Start to cartwheel the arms back down, frame the right foot. Take the right foot back beside the left. And we can go through vinyasa, so you can bring the knees down, go through cobra, or your chaturanga push-up into your upward facing dog and downward dog. We'll all meet in our downward dog. Take 2 breaths here. Bring the feet a little closer together. Take that left foot up into the air behind you. Bend the knee, open the hip to the side wall. Make your big knee circles. Once or twice in each direction. And then send that left foot to the top of the mat between your hands. Use your core, lift up all the way, high lunge. And then pivot on the back foot, come into your warrior 2. You can rock back and forth here if you did that on the other side. And you might notice that coming into Your crescent lunge or your warrior 1 and 2 feels a little bit easier with all the core activation that we just did. Come back into neutral, cartwheel the hands back down to frame that foot. Take the left foot beside the right, so we're in plank, and move through your choice of vinyasa. We will all meet back in our downward dog. And then start to tiptoe the feet to the top of the mat. You can cross your ankles, come down to seated, or you can bring the feet all the way to the other edges and come through your yogi squat before you make your way down to seated, whichever suits you today. Once you come to seated, just cross the ankles, come into a comfortable seat. We're going to head the right fingertips behind us, bring the left hand to the right knee, and just start twisting towards the right. Last little bit of core. Try to make your twists feel like they're coming from your core instead of the leverage of your hands. Start to make your way back into center. Tent the left fingertips. Right hand comes to left knee. Twist the other way. And breathe. Start to make your way back into center. You can keep your legs crossed like this, or you can bring your feet together in butterfly. We're just going to lean forward. Fold forward over your legs. Get into the hips a little bit more. And then we'll push ourselves back up into a neutral spine. Take the legs out long. Give them a bit of a shake. And then we're going to come all the way back to where we started into our Shavasana, our resting pose. If there's anything else you feel like you want to do, be my guest. Otherwise, we'll meet in our Shavasana. Notice how your body feels now and how that's maybe different than when we started. You can bring your hands to your belly if you want to focus on your breath and sending your breath there. Otherwise, just relax. Let the work settle in. And I'll call you back in a few moments. Now you can stay in your Shavasana for as long as you'd like, or as long as you feel like you need today. If you're ready to close off practice, you can start to bring your knees closer in towards you. Roll over to one side. Push yourself up to seated. We'll come to our comfortable seat. We'll take a couple breaths here to finish. Let's inhale for 2, exhale out the mouth for 4. We'll do that for 2 rounds. Just helps to kind of calm the vagus nerve, get us back into that calm state that we want to be in for the rest of our day. So inhale through the nose for a count of 2. Exhale out the mouth for a count of 4. One more time. Inhale for 2. Exhale for 4. Excellent. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Namaste. So wonderful to see you here. Hope to see you here again soon. Let me know if you have any questions or requests for our next class. Let your family and your friends know we're going to be doing this every week. So hope to see